They expected you to collapse under the weight of your pain. They thought you would sit in the ruins of what was lost, consumed by regret and longing. They assumed you would beg for closure, for a second chance, for their approval. They believed you were weak, too fragile to rise again. But what they didn't see was the fire burning inside you. Your suffering wasn't your downfall. It was your rebirth. Every tear, every sleepless night, every silent battle, it was all fuel for your transformation. You didn't crumble. You adapted. You didn't beg. You built. You didn't seek revenge. You evolved. The moment they walked away, the moment they betrayed you or dismissed your worth, that was the spark. It wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of a new chapter. You see, weak minds allow pain to destroy them. They become prisoners of their own suffering, blaming others, stuck in the past. But a Stoic mind, it takes pain and molds it into power. Welcome back to Mindful Stoicism, where setbacks are nothing more than stepping stones to greatness. Now, while they sit in comfort, thinking you're still broken, still dwelling on the past, something extraordinary is happening. You're moving in silence, growing stronger, sharpening your mind, elevating your life. You're turning every ounce of pain into fuel, into discipline, into an unshakable force. And just when they expect to see the same old version of you, you'll emerge as someone they never saw coming. So what's the move? Watch closely, because this is how you make your ultimate Stoic comeback. Bit 1. You embraced silence and let your actions speak. Most people, when they feel betrayed, rejected, or abandoned, react impulsively. They lash out. They seek explanations. They try to prove their worth to those who never truly valued them. But not you. Instead of begging for closure or seeking revenge, you chose silence. Not out of weakness, but out of strength. You understood that words are meaningless when someone has already made up their mind about you. Arguing, explaining, or proving yourself would only feed their ego and give them control over your emotions. So, you did the one thing they never expected. You walked away without a word. Your silence became your power. While they waited for a reaction, for a sign of desperation, you gave them nothing. They checked their phone, expecting a message. It never came. They assumed you'd chase. You never did. Because deep down you knew that the loudest response isn't noise, it's results. While they wasted time talking, gossiping, and living in their comfort zone, you were grinding. You were working on yourself, sharpening your mind, your body, and your purpose. You were building while they were watching. And then one day they looked around and realized you were no longer the same person they left behind. They expected you to stay shattered, but instead you'd leveled up in silence. And when they finally see what you've become, they'll understand that their biggest mistake wasn't leaving you, it was underestimating you. Because true power doesn't come from proving a point. It comes from becoming undeniable. 2. You stopped seeking validation and started commanding respect. At some point, you realized the truth. The more you seek validation from others, the more power you give them over you. You were conditioned to believe that your worth depended on their approval, that you needed their acknowledgement to feel important, loved, or successful. But deep down, something inside you knew that was a lie. So, you stopped chasing. You stopped waiting for them to recognize your value. Because a Stoic man doesn't seek validation, he radiates certainty. Instead of looking outward for approval, you turned inward and built yourself up. The moment you stopped trying to impress others was the moment they started noticing you. Suddenly, your energy changed. You were no longer desperate for attention, no longer bending over backward to be liked. You spoke less, but carried more presence. You didn't try to prove yourself. You simply became undeniable. And here's the irony. People respect those who don't need their validation. They are drawn to those who are grounded in their own self-worth. When you stopped chasing approval, you started commanding respect. You became selective with your time, your words, your company. You no longer tolerated disrespect, manipulation, or empty flattery. You moved with quiet confidence, unbothered by opinions, unfazed by rejection. And that's when everything shifted. The same people who once ignored you, now they're curious. The ones who took you for granted, now they realize your absence is more powerful than your presence ever was. This is the transformation that happens when you stop seeking validation and start becoming the man no one can ignore. 3. You turned your pain into purpose. Most people let pain define them. They let heartbreak, betrayal, or failure consume them, turning them into shadows of their former selves. But you did something different. You refused to be a victim. Instead of letting pain break you, you made it your driving force. Pain has two paths: destruction or transformation. The weak allow it to destroy them. They sink into self-pity, blame the world, and remain stuck in the past. But the strong, they use it as fuel. They take every ounce of suffering and channel it into something greater. At first, the weight of your pain was unbearable. The disappointment, the loss, the sleepless nights, it all felt endless. But then a shift happened. You realized that pain is energy. And like any energy, it can be redirected. Instead of drowning in sorrow, you turned inward and started working on yourself. Instead of seeking revenge, you sought growth, mentally, physically, financially. Instead of wasting time wondering, why me, you asked, what can I build from this? And that's when everything changed. You took that pain and poured it into something meaningful. Maybe you built a business, sculpted your body, mastered a skill, or redefined your purpose. Whatever it was, you turned your suffering into strength. Now, every time they wonder if you're still broken, they're met with a version of you they never expected, stronger, wiser, and completely unstoppable. This is what sets you apart. You didn't just survive on the pain, you used it. And that is why you will always rise above those who thought you'd stay broken. 4. You mastered the art of detachment. At first, they thought they had power over you. They believed their actions, their words, and their absence could control your emotions. They assumed that by ignoring you, by pulling away, or by playing mind games, they could keep you trapped, desperate for their attention. But instead of reacting, you did something they never expected. You detached. You see, detachment isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about understanding one simple truth. You cannot control others, only yourself. Instead of fighting for someone's validation or chasing what was never truly yours, you shifted your focus inward. You stopped seeking love, approval, or happiness from external sources and started cultivating them within yourself. Their silence no longer hurt you. Their absence no longer haunted you. Their attempts to provoke a reaction, they became powerless. Why? Because a Stoic warrior is unmoved by the chaos around him. You realized that true power comes from emotional self-control, the ability to remain centered no matter what's happening outside of you. And this is where everything changed. The moment you stopped reacting, they started noticing. The power dynamic shifted. Suddenly, they found themselves wondering about you. Why aren't you chasing? Why aren't you hurt? Why aren't you playing their game anymore? Because you mastered the art of detachment. And now, you walk through life unshaken. You don't seek revenge. You let life handle that. You don't crave attention. You command respect. While others are enslaved by their emotions, you move with quiet confidence. This is the essence of true strength. And this is why they'll never have control over you again. 5. You became unpredictable and untouchable. Before, they knew exactly how to manipulate you. They could predict your every move, how you'd react when they ignored you, how you'd chase after them when they pulled away, how a simple text or cold silence could shake you. But not anymore. You have evolved. You have detached from their games. You no longer respond to their tactics because you no longer play by their rules. The moment you stopped being predictable, you became dangerous. They can no longer anticipate your next step, and that terrifies them. You aren't feeding their ego anymore, and that silence is louder than any words you could ever say. Now they wonder, why isn't he reacting? Why doesn't he seem to care anymore? Has he moved on? Is he better off without me? And the answer, yes. You're not just moving on, you're moving forward, becoming a version of yourself that no longer depends on anyone's approval or validation. While they try to decode your silence, you are building an empire of strength, wisdom, and resilience. They can't control you anymore because you've mastered emotional discipline. They can't manipulate your emotions because you no longer seek anything from them. You don't respond out of impulse. You respond with strategy. Your power lies in your mystery. The less they know about your next move, the more control you have. And that's what makes you untouchable. By the time they realize they've lost access to you, it will be too late. You've already won. They thought you'd stay broken. They thought you'd stay weak. But instead, you became unstoppable. And here's the final lesson. Never seek revenge. The best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's becoming so great that they no longer matter. You're not the same person anymore. You've evolved. You've built an unshakable mindset. And now you walk forward not with anger, but with power. Let them wonder. Let them regret. Because you've already won. If this video resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe for more Stoic wisdom, and drop a comment below. What's your ultimate comeback move? Let's discuss.